last week, this is where we left off. The issue with that was, as Hyperphoto on the forum, and Andrew, my buddy, and John MC, and several other people pointed out, somebody in the comments as well, I screwed up my master cylinder. I had put the slotted washer shim under the snap ring, and that was depressing the piston a little bit in the bore, which was not letting the fluid go backwards into the reservoir, which made the brakes drag and heat up and drag even more, to the point where, you know, as you saw, I had to literally push it backwards with all my strength downhill to try and get it off the road when it died. So I was editing and realized I didn't talk about what I did to fix the brakes. So instead of having a washer, like a retention washer under the snap ring, between the snap ring and the piston of the master cylinder, I just took a spare clutch push rod I have. It actually has a larger ball, and just a regular washer, and tack welded that to the body of an extra master cylinder that Amazon sent me, because at one point I thought the master cylinder was bad, so I initiated a return. They said don't send the old one back, and they shipped me a new one anyway. So yeah, I just tack welded the washer at a few points around to hold it to the body of the master cylinder, and there is a tiny, like a few thou of free play in that push rod, and so I'm actually not preloading the piston in the master cylinder anymore. It's not exactly serviceable, but, you know, so what? I buy another cheapo master cylinder and tack weld another, you know, washer on there if I ever need to do it again. But yeah, that's what I wound up doing. Here's a picture. And the reason that it stopped running was fuel related again. All right, so now I'm starting to think the fuel pickup is plugged, because when you stick this under water, or under gas rather, like, it's pumping air. You can feel it, but it's not pumping any fuel. And that's with no filter on the line either. So I think maybe that's my problem. So I actually thought I fixed that, because there was one time where I've been running it for a while and I pulled the fuel cap off, and there was like suction, you know, you heard it go and suck air into the tank when I took the cap off. And I thought, oh, that must be it. You know, I've had that problem on motorcycles before. You burn enough fuel out of the tank with a plugged vent, and all of a sudden the pump, or it can't gravity feed against vacuum, and the pump can't pull it against vacuum. I did find out that the fuel tank vent was plugged. I do believe I found the reason why this thing dies after a while. The vent hose is completely plugged. So we're gonna clear that out, and we're gonna check. Oh, it's just a hole, so it's just a hose. Yep, I thought that went on like a nipple or something, but it doesn't. So just gonna trim a little bit off of there and open the hose up, and hopefully we'll stay and fix that, and went, oh, surely that's it. And it wasn't. It was a little bit better, but it was still, after a while, would just stop pumping fuel out of the fuel. I'd convinced myself that it was a rusty fuel tank, that I was just plugging up filter after filter after filter, because every time I took it off and would dump the filter out, it would just like mud. So I was really ready to pull the tank out of the car and take it to Merida Radiator and have them boil it out. And I went to drain it. And when I drained the tank, the fuel that came out, like, I don't know, I got about a quart out before, actually, reminder, I need to make sure I tightened that drain fitting. I don't think I did. Anyway, like a quart that I drained out was almost completely clear. You're like, well, that doesn't make sense. And right around that time, a couple people in a, you know, old Volvo group chat were saying, you know, I had similar issues. Dean had a lot of issues pulling fuel out of one of his tanks, and they said, well, just try and blow air back, you know, from the feed line in the engine bay and see if you can hear it in the tank. So I tried that, and I could not, you know, I blew into a hose. I could not blow any air into the fuel tank. So I am going to replace these, obviously. But what I had to do, I put a piece of 5/16 fuel line on here that goes back to the tank, and then put the other end on my air gun there, and then just fed it probably 40 or 50 psi shop air until I heard a pop, and then I heard it gurgling out of the well, I heard like, you know, like you're blowing bubbles in a drink out of the fuel filler cap over here. With that, I'm really hoping that we can get rid of the boat tank of shame finally and actually drive this thing around on the main fuel, or on the tank and on the fuel pump. So actually the stuff that started coming out of the line after I did that was pretty clean and clear. Well, the fuel line was clogged. It's now much cleaner too. So there must have been just a hunk of rust or varnish or something clogging up that line. There's still definitely some particulates coming out, but it's not bad. And that's after one filter. I'm gonna run it through two, one pre-pump and one pump and one post. But yeah, so I don't know, maybe it was a bunch of varnish or rust. I don't know what was clogging the line, but bottom line, it's clear now and the car is running super well. What else do we do? Really just kind of cosmetic stuff. I gave it a Comet wash, you know, like Comet, the bathroom cleaner, sprinkled it on, scrub it with a sponge, and that just sort of took the very top layer of, you know, kind of oxidation and corrosion off of the paint. So this is the results of the Comet wash and some 409 and the steel wool, and man, it looks so much better. For the most part, it really evened out the color. All like the rust around in here is now primer. Same thing up here. I mean, it's definitely patina, which is what I wanted, but most of the rust I was able to get rid of, except for this door. That's its own thing. Like I didn't actually touch this because all this, remember, had this sort of appearance before. But yeah, it really evened out the paint, and especially like in this area that had all kinds of rust staining and everything. I got that out. And down this side actually looks really good. And it'll look much better once I get that trim stick on. I may try and buff the paint, actually, just buff and wax and see what happens. But yeah, that is pretty solid for about $4 worth of detailing stuff, household cleaning products, and some elbow grease. So, it didn't shine it because it's, you know, a little bit abrasive. I think I'm gonna try and polish it out. I was gonna put some floor wax on it. You know, that's a patina thing. I think I'm just gonna polish it and see how it looks and go from there. Yes, we did all that, and I don't know if I mentioned or not. Well, I guess I did mention the fuel tank looked, you know, pristine. I've got some clips of that also. You know, it's a silly thing to be excited about, but look at the condition of like this trunk. I don't think the spare tire kit has ever even been out of the car. I mean, it's brand new. It's still strapped in there and everything. And like, it's the cardboard underneath is in good shape. There's no rust or anything under here. That's wild. This is just crazy. This is like a time capsule under here. The tank has never been out. All the sealant is still around there. Like when I pop the cover off of the cinder, I mean, look at that. It looks brand new. There's no rust or anything in here. This is wild. That's the original like cardboard thing that goes under this rubber mat. It's not even messed up. The rubber mat is all this is wild, man. And then sort of the last thing to do for the immediate future, cosmetically anyway, was to put the bumpers on it. So I did that. Well, unfortunately, when I did the clip of putting the bumpers together, I did it in slow motion instead of time-lapse, and I'm sure you don't want to sit through 30 minutes of me bolting 3 pieces of the bumper together. So we're just going to put it on the car now. So we've also got 2 of these little like horn thingies that that they go here and you can't see them. They go there, right? They're probably sided. I think I have, looks like I have two opposite sides, but they don't, neither one of them fits particularly well. Anyway, the real issue is inside here, right down in there. These used to have captive nuts in there and they just kind of rusted off and fell out. So I'll show you what we're gonna do. So I was gonna weld like a nut to a washer and do all kinds of stuff. And then I saw these T-nuts laying around and you can get them in 3/8. So I'm gonna put a T-nut behind here and then a 3/8 bolt in, oh, come on now. Just in the front just to hold it, like that. And then I'm gonna try and tack weld the T-nut without messing up the threads. And then I can take this bolt out and then that'll give me a nice captive nut back in there. At least that's the idea. I don't know if it's gonna work. I think I'm actually gonna need to enlarge this hole a little bit so I can get some welding wire down in there. But yeah, so we're gonna give that a shot. Then we give it a little paint, hopefully keep it from immediately rusting away. Doesn't look beautiful, but it'll allow me to get that bolt in there. So I'm gonna go put this one on and then we'll just do the same process on the one for the other side. So we got it on. Did have the little horns swapped, so I'll flip those. They look better now. I'm now gonna try and kind of level this out-ish and at least sort of make it fit better, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what we can do. You know, I'm not super pressed about it. So all in, I'm happy with that for what this car is. Obviously there's a big gap there because like the bottom of the sheet metal is just rusted away. So you know what you're gonna do. But yeah, that's an okay front bumper fitment for the use of this car. Let's do the rear. And now we're moving on to the rear bumper. The center section and this side, whichever side that is, I guess that's the, I don't know. That looks okay. That corner piece there does not look great. I'm gonna try and shine it up a little bit. I got a little trick for that. But yeah, let's time lapse putting this thing together. It was sort of a pain, and I'm missing one bracket on the rear, but you can't really tell. Yeah, it looks okay. And then we drove across town and dropped it off at the glass shop, and so it is going to get a windshield this week. Like I said, the car, I'd said in previous episodes, the car came with a windshield, so that should be fairly cheap. They quoted me about $100. And we are headed tomorrow. We're headed out of town for the week on a little sort of mini vacation for my daughter's spring break / early birthday present. Going to LA for the week, so we're going to do some sightseeing there. Oh yeah, I do actually have a brand new stock muffler for an Amazon, which is, this came with the 63 that I've since sold, and actually I forgot I had it because it was stashed way back in the corner over there behind a bunch of other crap. So yeah, that's about $140-ish a piece, 140, 160 if it's in. So the nice thing about that is I don't actually have to cobble an exhaust. I can buy the, I think it's $70 for a new downpipe because mine's all rusted. It's about the same price for like the over the axle pipe and the rear resonator, and then it's just some muffler clamps, and I have those laying around. So I'm just going to put a stock exhaust on this thing. It's not so much a money, I mean, you know, budget is a thing, of course, but Tony in town is pretty cheap. I don't know if he's that cheap. I don't know if I could get him to do a whole exhaust that would actually be sort of decent for $150. When this car gets the B20 and the M41 and a header and an alternator and some other stuff, I'll take it to him and have him do a nicer exhaust. But yeah, so I get that stuff ordered up. Hopefully it's here when we get back. And then the car is, of course the interior is going to look like crap and, whatever. But at that point, the car is basically ready for cow meet. And hopefully we'll have a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe, to do a little bit of a shakedown on it. Of course, I'm going to put insurance on it. I don't think I'm going to get tags on it because that is a fairly expensive proposition. So I'm probably just going to ride dirty to Kyle's. It has been 52 days since I dragged this thing home. Just shy of 2 months. And in 2 months, we have taken it from, not abandoned, it was in a lean-to on the side of this guy's property. But from a point where it did not run, it didn't really roll, and the guy was essentially selling it as a parts car, to roadworthy, fresh brakes, good running motor, good shifting transmission, got tires on it. Did a lot of work to this car in a fairly short amount of time, and for the most part have done it pretty cost effectively. Maybe I'll do some rough totals and see what we spent. Maybe I won't, because it may not be as cheap as I think it is. But, overall, I think we've done a pretty good job on this thing. So, yeah, from the next couple of weeks, it's really just kind of cosmetics and hopefully just taking care of a few loose ends, and then a shakedown, and then cow meet. So, yeah, it's been fun. Like I said, I've got plenty of stuff I want to do with this car in the future, but we're going to enjoy it as it is for the next few months at least. And then, I don't think this is a car that I'm going to get rid of, at least not in the immediate future. Amazons are I've wanted an Amazon for a long time. I've chased down a bunch. I've missed out on a bunch. To me, it's one of the coolest cars, sort of attainable classics, I guess. And yeah, like I said, values are not through the roof on them. They're super easy to work on. Parts are available. And Amazon is kind of the peak of what I would want to own that's old and Volvo. So very happy to have this car. Super pleased with how it's turned out. Really the only thing that I haven't done at this point is suspension. I am going to throw some shocks on it front and rear just because Rock Auto has those pretty cheap for KYBs. I'm not going to do the bushings yet. Obviously it needs them. That's just a cost thing. It's going to be another, call it $250 to $300, I think, for bushings for the car, front and rear. So I also have not decided where I'm going suspension wise. At one point I kind of wanted to do stage car stuff with Rally with one of these. However, after driving it around a little bit, I'm not sure that that's the right choice for this car. I may just lower it a little bit and make it kind of a cool street cruiser. I don't know. We'll see where things go. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you're coming along for the ride. I'm going to kind of keep putting video content together, not on any sort of schedule, but as stuff, comes available and, projects start to fall together, I'll try and record some stuff. The next big thing to tackle is the C10. It's been just sort of sitting in place for about 2.5 months now, waiting on motor mount, waiting for me to spend some money on that. But I can't be spending money on two projects at the same time. So anyway, like I said, thanks for tuning in, thanks for checking us out, and if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe and stick around for the next one. Thanks, y'all.